In graphic detail and raw emotion, President Zelensky has one big ask: close the skies over Ukraine. However, if you can't do a no-fly zone, then what else can you offer? What aircraft, what war material can you offer that can protect the skies over Ukraine? He brought us back to Pearl Harbor. He reminded us of the black skies over Pearl Harbor. He brought us to September 11th. He tried to invoke the emotion of not knowing when the next bad act was going to happen, when the next attack was going to happen out of nowhere. And that's how Ukrainians are living every day. He implores Americans, America, and NATO to close the skies over Ukraine. And I really think, in a nod to President Biden very directly, saying being the leader of the world means being the leader of peace. And being strong is being brave and ready to fight with your life for freedom. And Joe, finally, he said, you know, this is not just a fight for the Ukrainian people and for their land and their homes that they're protecting right now. This is a fight for the world.
It is a fight for the world. It certainly is a fight for freedom in the way that we have recognized it and celebrated it in the West for some time. Jon Meacham was also struck by him talking about how the international organizations that had been created after World War II, that have kept us together as a free West over the past 70, 75 years, are no longer adequate to face the challenges that Ukraine is facing right now. It's very interesting that the French president, President Macron, kept telling us before, as he was trying to avert war, that perhaps we needed a new security framework for Europe, in a nod to Vladimir Putin. Well, I suspect after this war, more will be listening to President Zelensky, and that new framework will be the type of framework that'll be far closer to his vision than the vision of President Macron before this heinous war began.
I think that's right. Out of great crisis and great struggle, the best part of history, institutions emerged from that. After the cataclysm of the Second World War, we did create, in the West, these institutions that have by and large kept the peace, have created significant prosperity, ended up after 40 years tuning down the Cold War. But institutions have to be renovated. They have to be rethought, unquestionably. And when you think about people like me and you can talk about these things in this theoretical way, I think the power of what President Zelensky just did is he's on the front line. This is not a Council on Foreign Relations seminar for him. As Mika said, he talked about quite effectively, I think, rhetorically, remember Pearl Harbor, remember September 11th. By quoting Dr. King, he linked saying, I have a dream, which was the central plane of the Black freedom struggle in the United States, to I have a need. And by saying, I mean this as deeply as your great heroes, we talked about Rushmore, he linked this struggle to, I think, some of the deepest parts of the American psyche, particularly, if I may, the demographic of the United States Congress. Those are folks for whom 20th century historical analogies, early 21st century historical analogies would resonate. And by using, it was this interesting combination, it seemed to me, of this very 21st century technology, doing a video speech. He didn't come to the chamber because he's a wartime leader. He's on the point, very reminiscent of Churchill, who said in 1940 that if this Long Island story of ours is to end at last, let it end when we are choking in our own blood upon the ground. He is saying that in a new century. So these ancient forces, strong versus weak, law versus appetite, are playing out in front of us. And he's calling on us to react in real time and to think in terms of a longer future.
It is remarkable what Vladimir Putin has returned. This country, his country, the continent of Europe, the world, how he has reversed the clock with indiscriminate bombing. Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.